An incredible 37-year-long innings as a leading man on the big screen, littered with countless romantic blockbusters, acclaimed films, action roles, and a whole lot of remakes. This beloved actor has always been good, has always been the favorite of the families in the Telugu states. This is, of course, Venkatesh Daggubati, whose 75th film Sandav is gonna hit the big screen this Sankranti 2024. Before Sandav releases, this is a recap of Venkatesh's career by recounting what, in my opinion, are his top 5 films. I would love to go in detail and I would love to talk for half an hour or an hour at least about each of these films, but to save the viewing experience for the listeners, I've decided to limit myself to listing out some minor highlights from the film. And I would tell you very strongly that I am hiding a lot and that the films are much better than how I'm describing them, and that you give them a look and try yourself. Here we go on the top 5 Venkatesh films from 5 to 1. Next comes the film Dharmachakram. Watching Dharmachakram is a revelation of sorts to Venkatesh's underappreciated dramatic strengths. He's perfect as the brooding lawyer Rakesh, haunted by his dark past and struggling with daddy issues, a similarity with Animal noted by Sandeep Vanga himself. Those courtroom monologues are very well done, but Venkatesh really shines in the smaller moments, like a scene with Srividya dressing his wound. More than words, his eyes do all the talking. Suresh Krishna does a great job maintaining the intensity and adding shades of darkness to a mainstream drama that is worlds apart from his first Venkatesh film, but as good as that one. Special note here is the chemistry between Venkatesh and Srividya playing son and mother, a very unique relationship of sorts in film where a mother abandons her husband for her righteous son and even rebels against him in the end. Srividya is fantastic here, and one can note the strong presence of very good supporting actors, very strong other performers within almost every Venkatesh movie. As we will further go, we will see this repeat even more frequently. Prema. The romantic hero Venkatesh had an insane run in the 90s with films of the Ra series, Kalisundamara, Preminchu Kundamara becoming blockbusters, and also his iconic pairing with Saundarya in nearly 9 films. The best Venkatesh romance is the first. Prema, released in 1989, co-starred Venki as Prithvi alongside Revati's Maggie in a youthful interreligious romance that has an unexpected tragic end. Revati was the soul of Prema as the witty, naughty Maggie, while Venki was all heart as the pained Prithvi with a dark past. Speaking of music, oh, those marvelous Ilaiyaraaja songs where one can hardly choose their favorites. Of course, the unanimous one would obviously be Priyatama na Hrudayama, but Inado Yedo Ayindi or Ivu Ivu Kamuddu Ivu or even Ontari Vadini are all hard to dismiss. Was Suresh Krishna's first individual independent film. His earlier film Satya was a remake of Arjun. It also bore the marks of a K. Balachandar aesthetic, with its story written by Balachandar's associate Anantu and Krishna himself being K. Balachandar's associate director. Krishna stages his scenes and his songs very confidently. Even the one fight scene with a gigantic child's wheel is also done very well, very stylishly executed. The staging of Suresh Krishna is most evident in the fantastically done Priyatama na Hrudayama sequence, where you see the anxiety, the pain and the love that Venkatesh's character has while Revati is going through a very life-threatening situation and he has to perform on stage. That sequence is extraordinarily moving. Again, I cannot stop raving enough about Ilaiyaraaja's music for this one. Its early release date, I would assume that Prema is the least watched film of Venkatesh's from the top 5 list that I'm making, and I strongly recommend people to give it a look. You may be missing out on one of the best romances ever made in Telugu. Few stars have the knack to pull off comedy and star successfully in comedy while juggling other genres like action and romance as well as Venkatesh has. The film that started all for Venkatesh is Nuvu Naku Nachau, that released at the beginning of the millennium. Venkatesh had done comedy films before Nuvu Naku Nachau, such as Sundarakanda, Intlo Illalu or Pavitra Bandham, most of which were Bhagyaraj remakes, but Nuvu Naku Nachau was a new step in the direction of comedy. For one, it is one of Venkatesh's most beloved films, one of his most rewatchable ones, and as Venkatesh himself admitted, the one most ripe for a re-release. Nuvu Naku Nachau was Venkatesh's first collaboration with director Vijay Bhaskar and writer Trivikram Srinivas, who was already making a mark in changing the way how comedy is done in Telugu, mostly depending on wordplay, rhyming words, the famous prasa dialogues, etc. Venkatesh also made Malleshwari with the same team. Malleshwari 2 is an extremely funny, very entertaining film that riffs on Roman Holiday, Shanakshanam, and a bunch of other films, but is a film of its own. I would prefer Nuvu Naku Nachau over Malleshwari simply because I like Aarti Agarwal over Katrina Kaif. In Nuvu Naku Nachau, there are so many hilarious moments featuring Venki as Venki, Metatouch, I suppose, that I can't even choose one of my favorites. Is it the dinner table conversation with Venkatesh praying to God? Is it the whole stretch at the amusement park? Is it the fight between Venkatesh and Aarti Agarwal? There are just so many moments that one cannot choose their favorite here. But it is obvious why Venkatesh is such a perfect choice for comedy. He has a self-depreciating, a very wholesome vibe to him that betrays any lack of vanity, any lack of I am a star wala feeling, that gels very well with comedy, as comedy is also about making a fool of yourself at times, and Venkatesh always seems game for that. Special shout out to the wonderful trio of Sunil, Brahmanandam, and MS Narayana, who just rock in this movie and who also share great chemistry, great camaraderie, and some incredible moments with Venki. It's pretty funny how the more I talk about this movie, the more I get the urge to rewatch it or at least go through some favorite clips of mine on it. That, I suppose, is an indication of how strong its impact and legacy has been on a generation of audiences in the two Telugu states. Kota Srinivas Rao and Venkatesh have been a great team, from Satru to Ganesh to Malleswari and countless other films in the middle. Pairing comes in the rather affecting father-son portion in the beginning of Adavari Matalku Ardare Verule, Selvaraghavan's Telugu debut. Amidst the magnificence of Kota Srinivas Rao's rather affecting turn, Venkatesh does well as a perennially unemployed, underachieving, frustrated man who's fast reaching middle age and falls in love and rediscovers a passion for work. His performance counts among his finest and was also one of the last original films he did before taking a turn towards remakes in the early 2010s. The most moving scene of Adavari Matalku Artharle Verule comes in a monologue that Venkatesh delivers to a dying grandma, describing his lonely life after the passing of his father. Venkatesh, his quivering voice, his eyes brimming with tears, is extremely moving here, and this is probably the best performance of his after the millennium. At the top of this list is undoubtedly Shanakshanam. Ram Gopal Varma's second film after his spectacular debut in Shiva is one of Indian cinema's finest. Shanakshanam mixes comedy, action, heist thriller genres effectively and almost effortlessly, with Varma in top form in all categories: writing, directing, staging, etc. Shanakshanam is more a Sridevi showcase than a Venkatesh film. Venkatesh himself makes an entry only half an hour into the film. Shanakshanam also features one of Sridevi's greatest performances. She is brilliant and at her comedic best as Satya. Venkatesh as the benevolent thief Chandu is charming, wholesome, really kind and rather funny, matching up to Sridevi in all ways. Sridevi's efforts, and proves himself as a great action hero, and some of the action set pieces such as the one on this train in the climax that ranks as one of the finest action sequences in Indian cinema. Shanakshanam is not Venkatesh's finest performance, but it is definitely the greatest film of Venkatesh's filmography. Shanakshanam is also unequivocally, in my opinion, one of the greatest films made in the history of Indian cinema. Special mention, I'll have to take up two specific films. Swarna Kamalam, which was one of the last good films that K. Vishwanath made, is a Venkatesh film that has him in the leading role, but I'd consider it more a Bhanupriya film, with Bhanupriya's character taking center stage in the film and her being a more important part. The entire film deals with her transformation and her arc. Venkatesh does very well here, but I would still not classify him as a protagonist or classify the film itself as a Venkatesh movie. The other film is Setru, directed by Kodi Ramakrishna. It's got Kota Srinivas Rao in an iconic villain performance and Venkatesh too in a rather different revenge-seeking angry protagonist role in a very gritty 80s style action thriller drama that does not measure up to me personally as good as Dharmachakram does, but I know plenty of people who think otherwise, and plenty of people who think of Shatru as Venkatesh's best film in performance, so that film is also worth a check out. If you've enjoyed this video, please do like, share and subscribe to this channel.